Let's start this workshop where we will cover how to have more realism in digital fashion, specifically in digital textiles. Before entering digital textiles, I wanted to talk a little bit about physical textiles and their classifications, and then move forward step by step. Okay, talking a little bit about the definition of PMO 3D and so on with the points we're going to talk about today. About physical textiles, what are textiles? They are flexible materials made out of flexible fibers, either natural or synthetic, that can be woven, knitted, interwoven, felted, or made in another form. Textiles have played crucial roles in different civilizations, serving as clothes, blankets, towels, curtains, and others for functional and decorative purposes. The relevance of this background information will be made clear later on. Textiles are composed of textures, resistance, absorption, weight, and appearance. They are determined in great measure by the fibers used in the particular process of manufacture. So, some of their classifications are, according to their origin. Within them, we have natural ones, starting with animal fibers. These are the ones with animal origin, such as wool, primarily produced by sheep, silk, mainly produced by silkworms, mohair by Angora goat, and cashmere produced by cashmere goat. Then we have vegetable fibers, which are derived from plants, such as cotton from the cotton plant, and flax, derived from the plant with the same name. Then we have ramie and jute, which are less common vegetable fibers used in textiles, but they are very useful for accessories. Therefore, it is useful to keep them in mind. The other category is that of synthetic fibers, which are the fibers made by human beings through a chemical or polymer process, such as polyester, one of the most popular synthetic fibers known for its durability and resistance to shrinkage. We have another very famous one, which is nylon, also resistant and flexible. We have acrylic, often used as a synthetic substitute for wool. We have lycra, also called spandex. You will see it like that a lot. Known for its extreme elasticity, we know that we use it a lot for swimsuits. We also have regenerated fibers. These are derived from natural cells that have been chemically processed, for example, the rayon, often used as a substitute for silk, cotton, and wool. The model is similar to the rayon, but with greater resistance to shrinking. The lyocell is a type of rayon, known by its ability to absorb and softness. Talking about the classification according to its structure, we have fabrics that are formed by interlacing two sets of thread together, and then we have flat fabrics, which include satin, the sargon, the damine, and many others. Then we have knitted fabrics, such as the jersey, the pique, among others. And the non-knitted, which are made by a process that forms a fiber net that is then consolidated using mechanisms or thermal solutions. Then we have the technical fabrics, which are designed for specific applications such as geotextiles, medical textiles, and self-motion textiles. I know there is a wide variety, but when we see the largest digital library, you will understand why I am talking a little bit about all this. There is also the classification of textiles according to their use. The most common is for clothing, mainly used for clothing. Then we have textiles for home, among them for making sheets, towels, and curtains, among others. Then we have industrial textiles and technical applications such as in construction, self-motion, or medicine. We also use textiles with decorative ends, as tapestries or decorations on the wall, among many other uses. Then, since we have this knowledge of what textiles are, what they are used for, we are going to see a tool that we will use in all these workshops, which has been wonderful for bringing together both fashion and feature design to the digital world, VMOD 3D. Okay, what is this company? Where did it come from? Before VMOD 3D, there was Swatch-On. Swatch-On is a company, I think it is Korean if I remember correctly. It's basically a company that exports textiles, that is. They have a website where you buy textiles by yards. These texts come in physical form, and they are home delivered. So, from 2020, more or less, that I know of Swatch-On, they started to test their textiles in the platform Closet Connect. In this process, they were still known as Swatch-On. Later on, if I'm not mistaken, on 2021, they started to slowly launch what would be the VMOD 3D. I'm going to talk a little bit and then I'm going to ask you to watch a video that will summarize it. But anyway, I'm going to give you a more detailed explanation. So, VMOD 3D is a company specializing in the creation of high-quality supply of digital textiles for various design and 3D simulation platforms. In a world where fashion digitalization and interior design are very present, not only in video games, as we had seen before, but in other circumstances, VMOD 3D is positioned as a leader in the digital transformation of the textile sector. Personally, I've seen many libraries of textiles and many texture libraries, but I had never seen one that would transform, as well as VMOD 3D does. They have their physical textiles platform, and they have a whole parallel universe of their digital textiles. That is, each digital textile has its own version of the physical textiles. I'm going to ask you to watch a small video to illustrate this. Other than the video that you just watched, what does VMOD Digital offer? They offer high-quality textiles and an extensive library of realistic textiles that reflect the appearance and sensation of their physical counterparts. As I said before, each digital textile has its own physical textile. So if later on you want to make a physical copy of a digital prototype, you can do it with all of its physical properties and with the confidence that its simulation will be exact. So besides that, each textile comes with detailed maps of each texture, like the reflection and opacity, among others, which allow realistic simulation in 3D environments. We will see in each software how we are going to use these maps. Besides that, the compatibility is wide. These textiles are compatible with most of the main 3D design platforms, like Cloud 3D, Blender, Substance Painting 3D, Cinema 4D, 3D Max, or Maya. In addition, it is easy to integrate with established workflows, and it maintains constant updates. That is, new textiles are consistently reflected in the current trend of the fashion industry. And we even have updates based on technological advances and market demand. Obviously, not only the market, but I think that in some parts of its website it has a form where, if, for example, you as a subscribed designer, because although we are going to talk a little about that, we have, when entering the register in VMOD 3D, we have, I think, 1,500 credits to buy free textiles. That is, some textiles are to test for free, and there are some that you must have a subscription to access them. But with all of this, I wanted to say that there is a form where you can fill in the name of the physical textiles that they have in Swatch On, and it will enter a list where they will know what you need for that textiles, and later they will be able to add it to their library that they currently have. So, we have flexible licenses where a variety of options for the license can be adapted to the needs of freelancers, small studios, and big companies, and there are also custom subscription models and custom packages. As you can see on the top part of the slide, there are annual plans, which have a further 20% discount than the one currently available. For example, we have from 550 credits per month to 2,700 credits per month. That, in a year, is a lot. So you can evaluate if you don't want to start with a yearly plan, they also have monthly plans. Or, in any case, if, for example, you run out of credits, there is an option. If you have an active subscription, where the cost is lower than if you had no subscription and you only wanted to buy 2 or 3 articles from the platform. It is also important to consider if you are going to go into production both physically and digitally, what you are going to need in the long term. In addition to that, we have personalized solutions, that is, digital textile creation services for specific projects. In addition to being able to ask for a specific textile to the Swatch On platform, it depends on the subscription, I think. Especially for those who have subscribed annually, they can commission, I think, 1 to 6 textiles of the designer or the company, for example. If there is a textile that you cannot find at Swatch On, then you can send it to the company, and depending on what subscription you have, there is a number of free items to change them from physical to digital format with color, hang, everything, as it is digital. For that reason, we have personalized solutions in that sense. In addition, we have collaborated with brands to replicate exclusive textiles in the digital world, as I mentioned. And sometimes, VMOD 3D launches a contest, challenge, and survey where it gives out free textiles for first-time registrants, or to win credits that can be used not only for free items, but also for those who are for subscription, despite not having one. So, VMOD 3D is not only a digital textile provider, but also. We already know the focal point that will help us to make our designs, attires, and projects look more realistic. In these modules, we are going to work with different software. This is module number 1, and further on, we are going to work with each separate software to later unite them in a project. Initially, we are going to work with CLO 3D, Blender, and Substance, but we are going to start with CLO. I think 80% of people already know CLO 3D, commonly called CLO, is a platform for 3D design specialized in the creation and visualization of clothing and textiles. It is mainly used in the fashion industry for digital prototypes and thus allows us as designers to see how an item would look and how it would move before physically making it. Some characteristics that you could find in CLO are the simulation of the textiles that we just examined in a hyper-realistic manner, tools for clothing patterns. And here I want to open brackets. I should have said this before, but CLO, besides being known as a software for producing digital clothing, it is also the oldest brother company of Marvelous. Marvelous was already known before by the world of video games, but it wasn't until about 2020 that it had an upswing and started to be used how it really needed to be used at that time. There are other platforms to work on clothing, but for this physical-digital connection, CLO is more helpful because it shows us all we can do while always having our feet on the ground when we want to take it into the physical world. Besides tools for clothing patterns, we have materials and accessories libraries at the marketplace of CLO. You will find many accessories and outfits ready to sell. It is completely free, some are paid, but it is a very large community that gives many resources, daily, I think. We also have a high-quality rendering with custom configurations and integration with other hardware platforms of 3D scanning, and we normally use it for fashion design, digital prototypes, preview visualization of our collections, and much more. Then we have Blender. Blender is a 3D open-code content creation program that allows you to model, animate, simulate, and render. Its ability to handle a wide variety of 3D design and animation tasks has made it popular among artists, animators, and design studios. But there is a factor that has made it much more popular than other software that has been in the market for years, such as Maya and 3D Max. It is open code, which means that you can enter the program and see how it has been built and that it is free. It is a totally free program since it has a great community that makes it grow every day. So, some of the main characteristics that we have in this software, for those of you who haven't heard about it, are the polygonal model and digital structure. We also have animation, rigging, we have particle simulation, fluid, and physics. And unlike CLO, which I think its render engine is V-Ray, I'm sure I'm right, the hyper-realistic Blender's engine is called Cycles. So it has a very different configuration than Close Render. We also have image and video composition following the rendering. In it, we can create animated films, architectural design and visualization, creation of games, graphic design and digital art, and much more. Basically, if you have a short budget, you can do a lot of extraordinary things in Blender. Likewise, we will see this in more detail later, but as the render system is different from the one in the CLO, using the textures will be different. The other program we're going to use is Substance Painter. Substance didn't used to be owned by Adobe. I don't remember exactly which company it was, but it was an Asian company. So Substance Designer, Substance Painter, and all other related programs became a new pack, so to speak, within Adobe that includes everything digital. So this program, 3D painting solution, which allows us as artists to paint directly in 3D models. I'll explain this a bit further. You can even add seams, patches, and everything considering a fashion perspective. If there is anyone who is in something else, like furniture, you can put spots and textures in real time and see how they look in your objects without the need for images. Well, they will be images, but they will be highly adjustable. So, Substant is widely recognized for its advanced texture capabilities and painting, and it is a standard tool in the industry of entertainment and video games. Some characteristics that we have here in Substance are direct painting on 3D models, and the advanced layer and mask system which we are going to use to overlay layers and color maps taken from VMOD 3D. Besides the procedural effect generator, versatile texture export for different 3D engines of video games and applications. The final result is connecting textures from Blender. That is, we will study the different software individually, but in the end, we will do a process from CLO to Substance and from Substance to Blender. This will help us export textures to Blender. Other than using this program for texturized content, we can also use it for active design for animation films and create realistic materials for 3D visualizations. Basically, all of these programs offer unique capabilities that make them stand out in their respective areas. For example, CLO is unparalleled for fashion design and textiles in 3D. Blender is a comprehensive program that can perform almost every task for 3D design, and Substance Painter, because there is a Substance designer. Substance Painter is the leading solution for high-quality 3D texturized and paint-based content. So, the choice of each of these tools will depend on the project and the specific needs you have. However, in many current workflows, these tools are used together to take advantage of their individual strengths. And as I was saying a while ago, we will do this whole process, this whole workflow, where we will use the three. The importance of the correct integration of the textiles in 3D design has revolutionized many industries. Why? Because from fashion to interior design and entertainment, in all these fields, textiles play a crucial part. Without an adequate integration of the textiles in 3D design is impossible to achieve realistic and functional representations. The key reasons why it is essential to have a correct integration of the textiles is first, visual realism. In many applications of 3D design, such as video games, movies, and fashion runways, visual authenticity is essential. Textiles correctly integrated that reflect light and shadow and show the details, like in the real world, give you almost 80% of the final item of clothing. Then we have the correct simulation. In platforms like CLO 3D, we as designers hope to see how this fabric will behave in a realistic environment. If a fabric is not well integrated, it cannot be simulated or moved in a realistic way, which can lead to wrong decision-making. Something that I always say, and that is very important in this part of 3D design, is that the pattern, the modeling, as you want to call it, goes hand in hand with the final result. Although in this digital world, you can make small tricks and small configurations so that this clothing item adapts to our digital environment, as a designer that will later transform this digital product into a physical one, it is very important that each fabric, each textile has its own representations and has its own physical properties according to the project in hand. One of the most important things is the saving of time and resources. In the fashion industry, for example, the digital prototype allows designers and brands to visualize the products before making physical samples, saving time, material, and money. However, this is only effective if digital models are similar and behave as their real counterparts. Opening brackets here to say that this is exactly what VMO 3D allows us to do. Having this real counterpart of a digital design allows us to have that certainty and not leave us guessing how the clothing item would look like. We also have consistency in production. For digital content production, such as video games or animated films, coherence, as I have already said, is key. If a textile is presented in different ways in different scenes or contexts, it can break the immersion and destroy the quality of the final product. If it is not seen, as it should be, it will look false. This era is about reaching the realistic, unless it is a project that you want to combine 2D style with 3D, which can be done. When we talk about textiles and what to take them to the digital sphere, we have to take that into account. Another point is the realistic interaction. In the simulation and application of virtual reality, the way users interact with textiles, for example, the clothes of an avatar or the curtain of a room, virtual, of course, can affect significantly the user's experience. A correct integration ensures that these interactions are credible. For example, I'm going a little bit off the textiles topic, but we must consider the importance of the physical properties. If we were in a cloudy zone in a forest and we think it is scary looking, we get that impression because it looks real. That also helps us a lot in marketing. The brands often use 3D render to promote products, as Lacoste and Nike have done, if I'm not mistaken. They promote these products before they are physically available to have feedback from their customers. A correct representation of the textiles ensures that the customers get a precise vision of the product, which can influence the purchasing decisions. For example, if some pants do not look as customers expected, they could say, "Oh no, this will not suit me," or "This will not suit me as I would have liked." So, you have to have that counterpart where, although we want everything to be perfect, not everything can be. It has to have the realistic simulation that is needed to make it possible for the consumer to use it. Also, one of the important things when creating is precisely the creative development for us designers. Having access to precise textiles in a 3D environment can inspire new ideas, can allow experiments that could be expensive or impossible on a physical level. An interesting fact that I have had present for a long time is that 20% of the residue of the fashion world is generated from product testing. That is, the prototypes that we create with the real fabric constitute that 20%. It is a very high number that we are trying to decrease with all this. To conclude, the correct integration of textiles in 3D design is not only an aesthetic issue, but it is also a functional and strategic need as an adequate integration that allows companies and individuals to make informed decisions, innovate, and offer high-end products and experiences. I think that's all. Thank you. Okay, I know that in this first workshop, there is a lot of information. So in the next module, which is going to be November 3rd, we will go into the first program where we will use the textiles of VMOD 3D to make different combinations of colors, materials, and layers, as you can also make layers in CLO. We will see all of that then.